is done prudently and in the interest of the beneficiaries?
Oh, Colin, I can assure you that the pension fund industry is very well regulated in this country, in South Africa. You know, we're subject to the various pension fund acts, but also we're governed by a regulator, being the Financial Services Board, who conduct regular compliance checks on all the pension funds in the country. Also, pension funds are governed always by an independent board of trustees. So no pension fund is owned by an employer. They're all independently run, operated, and they have high standards of governance in this country.
Now, tell us about this survey that has been conducted. What was its purpose and what did you discover?
Well, Colin, you know, as a pension fund, we've had a lot of success. We've enjoyed receiving 7 awards for governance, research practices, investment. But you always feel that you need to go a step higher, and the goalposts keep changing. And we looked around internationally. How do we compare ourselves to somebody else? Internationally, there are studies, but they don't really apply to South African pension funds. Things are different here. And you know, local is always lacquer. And last year I spoke to the chairman of the IRF, Wayne Hiller van Rensburg, and they had a similar need. They'd identified a similar need to what we had. Now, we don't have the authority to initiate such a study on our own. They have the authority and they have the resources. We have different resources. And we decided that together, with a research partner, we could actually make a difference. And we identified a research partner, Stephanie Griffiths, and we brought her on board, and she used all the figures that the IRF had, you know, their database of members. She used us as the groundwork up. So she had a top-down look and a bottom-up look. She sent out all these surveys, number crunch. She produced a report this size, and she enabled us to see what the current trends are in the South African pension fund industry. So now we have a benchmark that we can look at the governance, the investment practices, the various facets of the pension fund.
So what are these trends?
Well, primarily, you know, one looks at trustees, for instance. In the SABC Pension Fund, the trustees themselves, they are all extremely well qualified. You know, there'll be doctors, lawyers, accountants, human resource practitioners. But in a pension fund industry, you need a knowledge of accounting, investments. They're not always well versed in all of those things. And we have an obligation to bring up their skills in this area. And that's exactly what the survey revealed in terms of trustees. We've done a similar survey with our own pension fund a number of years ago, and we found that in all, our members and our pensioners rate our services very highly. They rate our governance, our investment practices, our research, and our communication was in the 90%. So we knew we were there, but you know, you need a best practice. And a best practice, for instance, currently we have the Olympics. Now, if you compare the pension fund industry to the Olympic Games, now the entire industry is running a race. Now, some of them, everyone's doing a good job. Everyone's getting good returns for their pensioners. Everyone's looking after their members' money. And I can promise you the governance is good in all the pension funds. But sometimes you want to be a bit better. And you get the coach, you do the training, you get into that South African Olympic team, you go for gold in Rio. And that's the difference. A best practice is the one that's just slightly better. It's that cherry on the top. It's the things that people don't expect you to do. And that might just earn you that extra 1 or 2% on your investment returns and enable you to give better returns to your pensioners or make your members' money grow.
Well,
faster.
Investment returns in a pension fund can be something very plausible, but then looking at individual pension managers, or rather beneficiaries, do we have follow-up to check if really the dividends that go to them are in line with the objectives that were envisaged during retirement planning? Because most of the time we talk about dashed expectations that pensioners would then experience a lifestyle that is lower than that they had expected.
Yes.
Some go through retirement depression because, you know, cost of living is too high, medical bills come in too high. If somebody has to do a hip replacement as a pensioner, they do not afford a lifestyle that one would have if they were normally employed.
Yes. No, I sympathize totally with that. And I can tell you that the SABC Pension Fund in the last 10 years has given an above inflation increase, in fact 4% above inflation. The average inflation rate for the last 10 years has been 6%. Our average increase to our pensioners has been 10.2%. So a pensioner who went on pension 10 years ago has enjoyed a 4% above inflation increase every year in his standard of living, and which means that they've actually improved on their standard of living from when they from when they actually initially went on retirement.
Here's an argument now. There are other people who say some employers are not responsible for pension fund administration. They would rather have it outsourced, or it's the responsibility of each and every individual employee to seek their own pension fund administrator. With this scenario at the SABC, as you are involved there, what has your experience been like when you juxtapose private insurance administration and institutional insurance service?
Well, everyone would have their own views. But in my view, to have your employer involved in your pension fund is the absolute best position you can be in, because the employer is involved with the employees. It's part of their terms of service to have a pension fund, but the employer adds so much value to our pension fund board meetings. You have 50% of our board members are employer representatives, 50% are the member representatives, and together they gel, and they have an empathy for the pensioners. If you outsource a pension fund to whoever, those people did not have those people working for them at one stage. Now the employer knows, Joe Soap and Maury, they worked. I remember them. I must look after them. And we have, in our pension fund, our Board of Trustees has this extreme empathy for every pensioner.
Yeah. My time is up, and then just one last issue that I need to pick your brain on.
Course.
Somebody earning a certain amount and then having a pension fund withdrawing for their own savings. When they retire, they get a lump sum, and then the whole pension payout is annuitized, and they get a monthly payment.
Yes.
Now, are the members also advised to also get retirement annuity to augment what they're earning, because their earnings won't be equal or similar to what they're earning as when they are employed?
Absolutely. To earn 100% of your salary as a pension, you need to put away for 47 years your pension every month. Now what happens is people leave their jobs, they take the pension money, they go and buy a house or a boat or a car, and they fall behind. You need to, from job to job, keep up that pension. Make sure you have the 45 or 47 years pension by the time you retire. If you don't, you need to supplement it. You can't blame the pension fund. They can only operate with the monies you've given them. So therefore, every person, every individual, whether it's an SABC employee or any of the other workers in this country who are lucky enough to have a pension fund, you need to supplement it. Because the day after you go on pension, you might have 20% of your previous earning capacity.
And our people don't know that.
They don't realize that, no.
This is an interesting subject. We're not going to leave it there. We're going to leave it here, but we will follow up. Thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you for the time. Thank you very much. Cheerio.
Okay, I'm speaking here to Anthony Williams, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the SABC Pension Fund. Very interesting subject indeed. We will also follow up on that so that we can really be blown wise about securing a better, comfortable future in as far as pension fund administration is concerned.